Joining me now is National Union for Democracy in Iran Policy Director, Andrew Galili. Andrew, thanks very much for being here. Your reaction?
Thanks, Maria, for having me this morning. What we're seeing right now is the complete decimation of a regime that has been threatening, terrorizing, killing not only its own people, but American troops, American people, American interests in the region for over 40 years, really since its inception. And I just want to bring it back for a second and talk to people who are still opposed to what we're seeing. I think they need to be forced to define what they wanted President Trump to do instead. It's very clear that President Trump gave this regime every opportunity to make a deal at the negotiating table. We're seeing new reports that when Steve Witkoff and the U.S. negotiating team presented those demands to the Iranian to the regime team, that the Iranian foreign minister started screaming at Steve Witkoff, to which he responded, if you want, I can leave. We're hearing that the regime was bragging about how much nuclear material they had and they weren't willing to give it up. So instead of deciding to manage this threat like so many past presidents have, with a weak deal or just kicking the can down the road and hoping that a future president will deal with a rich and nuclear Tehran, President Trump has decided to confront this regime head on. And as he said, this was the only option left to deal with this threat.
Yeah. And Andrew, the Israeli Defense Forces are reporting more than 1,000 enemy combatants have been killed in Iran since this operation began. So it has been highly successful, even though, of course, we mourn the loss of 6 servicemen in the United States. What are your expectations on how long this goes?
Well, I think it would be a mistake to stop too early to do anything like what we did in Venezuela. It should be well understood, and I think the Trump administration does understand very well, that there is no figure within this regime that can take power and will suddenly make a deal, will suddenly stop repressing its people. So it's important that this targeting of both political and military leadership continues. And as President Trump said, what comes next must be left to the people of Iran.
So do you believe that we could see actually a free Iran? I mean, Israeli warplanes launched a fresh wave of strikes across Iran and Lebanon this morning, simultaneously attacking Tehran and Beirut after Hezbollah launched airstrikes in northern Israel. The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh also hit by drones overnight by Iranian forces. No injuries there reported. But you're seeing this move wide and deep. And, of course, to see the Saudi embassy, the U.S. Embassy in Saudi get hit also very noteworthy. So what's your take in terms of the impact and longer term look at Iran? Do you believe we could see a free Iran once again?
I absolutely do. First of all, on the regional partners, it's very clear why they wanted to deal with this threat as well. Look at what the regime has started doing by targeting residential neighborhoods and airports in our their Arab neighbors. But as far as a free Iran, it absolutely is possible. What we saw in January was millions respond to the opposition leader, Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi's calls to take to the streets, and that's why we are in the position today. And I would just emphasize for your audience, Maria, as you know, because you've had the Crown Prince on many times, he has a plan for what comes next. So he has been called upon by the people, and the plan, the Iran Prosperity Project, has been developed over the course of the years. It was incubated at the Nufti Fund, my organization. And there are 2 important points if I may make about that plan. First of all, it's been made public, it's been very transparent, and it's a large part of why the Iranian people trust the prince to bring them to democracy, because he's been very consistent in calling for a democratic referendum. But second of all, Maria, I've been in the room, I've had the privilege of being in the room as the prince presents this plan, a physical copy of the emergency phase booklet to United States senators as he explains it to members of the British Parliament. And you can really clearly see as they're holding it and flipping through the 170 pages that they begin to shift their perception of what regime change in Iran means. It is not like Iraq. No one, not the Iranian people, nor their opposition leader, is asking for the United States or anyone else to come in and do nation building. They have a plan that's been developed by a team of experts that covers 15 key sectors, from basic governance to foreign policy to managing the water crisis. So there is a good option for what comes next. The Iranian people have made clear what they want to come next, and I think they are very grateful to President Trump for leveling the playing field and saying he wants to give them the opportunity to decide on their future.
Yeah, and I have the plan in front of me, by the way, the Iran Prosperity Project. And one point to make, which His Highness Reza Pahlavi shared with me, is he has an expectation that once this is implemented, it will be an impact to the United States of some $1 trillion in potential transactions and potential economic activity between the two countries. So that certainly is something to think about. Andrew, thank you very much for weighing in on all of this. We appreciate it. Andrew Galili joining us.